Welcome, acolytes. Today, from all people, from all effing people, I didn't expect that the critical drinker is a Warhammer fan, or at least that he basically just makes something on it. Although I already seen him once with the other guys that they actually discussed the entire thing. But from all people, I really didn't expect him to do something on it. So, yeah, quite excited for that one, to be honest, just to hear what he has to say about it. And if you're asking what I'm actually thinking about the entire thing, well, get the F out of freaking Warhammer. Let us boys just have some freaking fun for 5 seconds. Don't cry about it and just let us have to freaking adapt this Astartes. Please just get the fuck out of it. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna say it more eloquently in a second, but it's just... Why? It took so long that I actually thought that Warhammer will be an exception and they don't fall for this bullshit crap, but well, female adapters Astartes, I guess it comes.
40k community in recent days after the parent company Games Workshop decided to make some changes to the lore of their fictional universe. Yeah. And well, they haven't exactly been well received. But what changes? And
by the way, happy they haven't been was received, and I hope I bite the effing don't know in universe. Just hope they will change their mind on this one. I doubt it, but I really, for the life of me, I really hope it. I really just hope that it's gonna be this freaking brutal fun world where we can just have something. Just have something that's not real life politics. The only politic that I wanna see is the freaking politic of the God Emperor. The rest is irrelevant.
Did they make to cause such a backlash, you might ask? Well, this is where I'm going to have to delve into the lore a little bit, so indulge me. The simplistic view is that Warhammer 40k is set in a fictional future where mankind is locked into a state of constant warfare across the galaxy and has devolved into a kind of quasi-religious military dictatorship where human life is cheap and all that matters is the survival of the...
Hell yeah. The Emperor doesn't care what goes in the freaking grinder. He just needs something for the grinder.
Imperium. To quote the company themselves, in the grim darkness of the 41st millennium, there is only war. Nice. It's a neat setting for tabletop wargaming, and there's an absolute metric ton of lore and history that's gradually been built up around it over the decades. In fact, you can actually ignore the gaming side of things altogether and just immerse yourself in the fictional worlds. There's more than enough books, short stories, graphic novels, video games, and magazine articles to keep you amused for decades. Yep, anyway, one of the most iconic symbols...
And I personally, by the way, didn't go to Warhammer really got... I'm still not really into it. I love it, but I'm still like, when I see the pure amount of books and literature and everything you can freaking have, the pure information, I'm like, oof, I have to start somewhere. But it's so vast and so freaking awesome. Like the Horus Heresy things is just such a magnificent start. I mean, magnificent. It's... I love it. I love but by the way, Total Warhammer 3, of course, the game, it's the, I will say, fantasy version of it. And it's also beautiful, like, oof, the fantasy part of Warhammer is also just... But it's a shame that it didn't get continued. It basically got discontinued. They won't do anything with it, or they don't plan on. So that's bad, but hey, we have 40k. So I think it's fine.
Of the 40k universe has got to be the Space Marines, genetically and surgically enhanced super soldiers wrapped up in power armor that are deployed to the most critical war zones across the galaxy. They're the very apex of human warfare, and the elite amongst them are the Custodians, the personal bodyguards of the Emperor of Mankind. In short, these are not guys with whom to fuck. Now, there's a lot of...
Yep. The most elite of the elite of the elite. Oh, I love Oh, yeah, I love a lot of chapters. The Minotaur chapter is one that I actually quite enjoy. Yeah, and of course the typical Night Watchers and
Lore surrounding the Space Marines and the Custodians themselves, how they're created and how they function, but one of the most fundamental aspects of their creation is that they're all male, hence the reason they're all referred to as Battle Brothers. I know, right? Who would have thought that an oppressive, xenophobic, totalitarian military regime wouldn't have diversity and inclusion initiatives? The reasons for this are a combination of established lore, the target audience, and, well, basic common sense. From the lore side of things, the process for creating Space Marines is only compatible with male physiology, and there's no way to adapt it to work on female bodies. The super advanced technology used to do it is barely even understood by this point in history, and to be honest, there's never been a whole lot of incentive to pursue it because, well, what's the point? Only the strongest, toughest, and most resilient individuals can even hope to survive the process of being turned into a Space Marine, much less a Custodes. To put it into context, less than a fraction of 1% of the population would even be considered as candidates, which pretty much rules women out of the equation, so it always seemed like a question that...
It's not because they are freaking... that the Imperium won't take their meat for the mint grinder. No, they would take them if it was possible, but in the story itself, there is no effing way that it is what it is. And just for fuck's sake, we have the Sisters of Battle. If you want something new and fresh, just take a freaking female sniper group. That's actually a bit more realistic because presumably from what I know, females make actually for better snipers than men. So it would even make sense if that information is correct. I heard it from a source I actually trust, so I assume it's correct, by the way. And it's just, just do that. Make something special. Why just invade this old good stuff instead of actually making new... well, not better, because where is the fucking Space Marines? I mean, how the F can you get better than that? But, I mean, just invent something freaking new that's special. Not just a freaking sex change on a Space Marine. That's boring. That's very boring. Like, it's... Why?
Basically answered itself. And if I had to guess, I'd say a lot of this probably comes down to Games Workshop having a solid understanding of their target audience and what they like. Because, how can I put this? Not all that many girls are into tabletop wargaming.
True.
Don't say.
There's some, for sure, I'm not taking anything away from them, but generally if I had to pick the people who are most likely to be into things like Warhammer, well, it's going to be guys like this. And for a good 30 years or so, everyone seemed pretty happy with that state of affairs. The problem is that Warhammer started to get popular, really popular, and so it was only a matter of time before it attracted the attention of modern audiences. Not tabletop gamers playing today, of course, or even just women who happen to enjoy the hobby, but instead activists who totally don't give a shit about anything to do with 40k, but just want to score another little victory in the endless war to dominate every single aspect of entertainment and culture.
And it's so sad, like, that I'm gonna be honest, peace-loving people like us, we just have to fight more often. It's not that you're gonna freaking win every fight you fight, but like this shit right now, if we just stopped it from the beginning, it would have been done. But now we just have to freaking go around and just hear this bull crap and have actual people that get harmed, children that get mutilated, just because they want some trans thing to go on. Like, Yeah, okay.
Push to make the world of 40k more diverse and inclusive has been going on for a while now, and one of the big objectives they've been gunning for is female space marines. Because truly, what woman doesn't want to see herself represented as a psychopathic 8-foot tall genetically engineered killing machine?
Well,
It doesn't matter to these people
Everyone
that
wants
30
that.
years of lore says it can't be done. It doesn't matter that most actual gamers don't want to see it happen. It doesn't matter that there's already entire armies of female-only soldiers specifically created to give women more of a presence in the
Sisters of Battle. If I recall correctly, Sisters... I can speak the word. Sisters Saramita, so correct me in the comments.
game worlds. All that matters is winning, breaking down another barrier, homogenizing and blending everything together into an indistinguishable grey sludge of inclusion.
It make it effing boring. And yes, he's correct, by the way.
Gleefully taking another treasured thing away from their enemies so they can gloat about it and push for even greater victories next time. And a few days ago, they moved one step closer to their goal with the release of a new rulebook from Games Workshop, where it casually dropped in the fact that female custodians are now apparently a thing.
Fuck.
That's pretty interesting, considering they've literally never been spoken about before, and everything we know about them suggests that can't happen, but okay, sure. Naturally, fans were confused by this, and when they were questioned about it on Twitter, Games Workshop's response was simple and blunt. Since the first of the 10,000 were created, there have always been female custodians. Liar! You know, I can't help thinking that you guys are trying to do a bit of rewriting of history here. I can't help thinking that you've finally started to bow to pressure from modern audiences, and you were almost certainly encouraged to do this by a sudden infusion of...
Yeah, and that's why I think I don't understand. What I actually don't understand. How the fuck are they actually... How did they get pressured into it? There is no effing way that something that actually does a lot of money, like freaking Warhammer, that actually went to the, well, mainstream and makes money, and they somehow get pressured by fucked up Facebook and Twitter users. This just doesn't make sense. How weak-willed do you have to... Are you actually? That you're gonna freaking... get actually bullied by a 10-year-old or by some freaking loser that actually doesn't have a life. Like, how? If you make enough money, there is, like, it doesn't make sense. Logically, it doesn't make sense to me. Why would you cater to something that actually kills off your money flow?
Of investment money from BlackRock. I can't help thinking that maybe you're trying to gaslight your own fans into believing we've always been at war with East Asia. And apparently, I'm not the only one. But Drinker, you absolute titan of tabletop tactics, I hear you say, the 40k universe is rife with misinformation, retcons and rewrites. Things are constantly being changed and added to the lore, so why should this be any different?
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
Well, let me stop you there, heretic, because there's a few little misconceptions that I'd like to clear up on this one. The development of the Warhammer universe over the past 30 years is less of a constantly shifting chessboard and more like a telescope that's slowly coming into focus. In the early days, back in the 80s, things were intentionally vague.
Oh, that's actually good. That's... Oh, this were... Yeah, I'm gonna repeat that. This was actually... Yes. He's correct about that. Yes. It's not about it's a freaking telescope that goes on focus. Yes. That's what Warhammer is. Yes. Damn. This was precise.
And a lot of details were still waiting to be filled in because the developers hadn't worked everything out yet. But over the years, those details have been filled in with hundreds of articles, books, games and rule sets, and while certain details might have been corrected and expanded on many times over, the general setting, history, characters, rulebooks and foundations of the world have actually stayed extremely consistent. So no, that excuse doesn't wash with me anymore, boyo. And as I've mentioned in previous videos, the lore is something you you should respect enough to work around instead of constantly changing. Because
Yeah.
believe it or not, people actually get invested in this stuff. They buy into the fictional world you've created, and the more you fuck with that, the more difficult you make it for those people to stay invested, because they know that at any moment, some prick might decide to completely rewrite it to suit their own selfish bullshit needs. But Drinker, it's just one little change. Why do you care so much if there's female custodies? That's an interesting question, but here's an even better one. Why did you care so much that there weren't female custodies? Why did it bother you so much that you've spent years complaining about it? Why do you feel so
Correct.
strongly that this thing must be changed? And why do you get so defensive when people question you about it? As heel versus babyface so correctly observed, it's really easy to ask the old, why do you care so much question once you've gotten what you want. It's
Gonna
easy
watch
to
that.
defend the status quo once the status quo has been changed to suit your demands. Until of course you've decided that it has to change again, in which case you certainly will care about this stuff again. And make no mistake, they will demand that more things be changed to suit them. And I guess that's the real crux of this argument here. It's the reason Warhammer fans are pushing back so loudly against it. It's not just what the change is, although that's pretty bad all by itself, but it's what it represents that's the bigger issue. It's the sacrifice of artistic freedom on the altar of identity politics.
Yep.
This right here, boys and girls, is the thin edge of the wedge. It's the first little crack in the dam that'll eventually become a gaping hole. Because here's the thing, the moment you make any concession, no matter how tiny, you've already given the game away. You've made it known that you're prepared to bow down to their demands if they put enough pressure on you. And so inevitably, their demands are never going to end. They'll literally never be happy, because there's always going to be some other thing, some other piece of problematic lore, some other rule or...
And if they don't find anything, they will freaking just think of something, pretend it's real, and then still shit on you.
exclusionary detail that has to be altered to comply with their constantly evolving demands, and all in the name of inclusion and diversity. Because these people don't care about your hobby, they don't care about integrating into a community of like-minded individuals. All they care about is that the community bends and reshapes itself to suit them, until eventually they bend it so much that it breaks. People like that are complete and utter poison for any hobby, any fandom, any franchise. All they ever manage to do is stir up conflict, resentment and division, driving people away and turning fans against the very company that tries to pander to them. Because their very reason for existing is to undermine and destroy the thing they claim that they're trying to save. And if you've got any common sense whatsoever...
It's all about power. It's not about being fair. It's not about actually doing something good. It's all about power. They don't give a fuck about you, your hobbies, or anything. The only thing they care about is power. And this is how they get it. And this isn't a play of, I want to make this hobby better. It's about how much power can they take. They suck the entire fun out of it, and if they got everything they want, they just go out and look for the next thing. This is how it works, and this is how it will always work, I presume. Because if it was about fairness, there would be nothing to say about it. Nothing. And they wouldn't have anything to touch on. Especially in Warhammer, by the way. Like, I don't see anything unfair in Warhammer, to be honest. There just isn't. Straight out. So, yeah.
Or any love for the fandom that you're so passionate about, you'll think very carefully before bending the knee to them. Anyway, that's all I've got for today.
Well, and Acolytes...
Go away now.
You know what? Acolytes, he's correct. Show the critical drinker some love. I mean... You probably know him before you met me, so there's that. So I'm not going to pretend, but still, if you actually want, write a comment in it, or even on his channel, show him some good old positivity, and good night, Acolytes.